You guys help me please welcome our first speaker, Linda W. from Gilbert.
You know, I was going to come in last night in the middle of the night and just practice in here. And, well, it didn't work out. But anyhow, let me first of all thank the committee, because this is a topic that I know is like the glue to our program. And if you can't stay clean, you don't have a program. Oh, I'm Linda. I'm an addict. Thank you very much. It's the simple things. Anyhow, I want to thank the committee. I want to thank those that are in here that love me unconditionally. There have been many times in this program that the higher power that keeps me clean and keeps me alive has changed a lot. And one of the most recent powers that I have used in my life to stay clean and to stay alive has been the love that I receive from others and that I'm able to give. So, thank you. I have some notes here because I'm really not used to this podium thing. It's a little intimidating. Let me just tell you really quick that if I say something and I laugh and you don't laugh, that's okay. Because often I am just entertaining myself, so I've gotten used to the big screen TV in my head. Wish I would have put my notes in order. Staying clean no matter what. First of all, I am a product of hospitals and institutions, H&I. Even though I didn't hear what the hell they were saying or get it, I love H&I. And if you haven't had the opportunity to be involved with hospitals and institutions, I encourage you to do that sometime. I wanted to clarify some things really quick. The woman that stands before you right now is not the girl that came into recovery. I came in off of the street and I wasn't looking to get clean. I just really wanted the police to leave me alone. And there's a building right behind this hotel that I was pretty familiar with. It's the probation department. And often they would put me on various different programs, and I didn't complete many of them. And so as a result, I ended up being locked up in prison and still was not able to stay clean after that. I also like to say this, it's just a clarification for those that might need to hear it, that might be newer. I was a gang member, and when I say that, it's so funny for me to say that because it didn't matter the gang. It just mattered the neighborhood. So whatever neighborhood I was in was the gang that I joined. And I was more of a gang follower than a gang member. And very often ended up in situations that I didn't understand because of that. But we do what we have to do to get to where we're going. So when I came into recovery, the other day I was reading my journal, my first journal. And when I first came into recovery, I didn't know when I was lying. So many different defenses had built these walls that we live in by the time we get here, and so I didn't understand really what the truth was. I had no clue what my truth was, much less the truth of the whole. And so when I started to look at the first step, I just couldn't get it. I just didn't comprehend it. I looked at the beginning of that about the powerlessness, and I was like, I don't know about that. But the unmanageability I can get with. You know, I've been on various different probation programs, and I actually I gave birth to 5 different children, and did not have them when I came in off the street, and you know, didn't know how to do the checkbook thing, didn't know how to do many things that we don't know how to do by the time we get here. And so, unmanageability, yeah, sign me up, because I'm there totally, you know. But the powerlessness, I just didn't get, and really I didn't want to spend a lot of time with that. So, you know, I wasn't too concerned about that. Well, what I know now is that staying clean no matter what does not happen if you do not have a surrender inside. Very often, in the beginning, because of those, giving birth to those 5 children, you know, I would, whether I was jonesing or not, in bed, I cried myself to sleep every single night, waking up in the middle of the night crying, and just not being able to go to sleep. And so that was my pain that I came in with. That's what I wanted to let go of. That's what I wanted to change. That's what I wanted when I was in a crowd and I saw another woman smile and laugh. I was like, what in the heck does she have to laugh about? You know? And tell me, because I want to know, because I want to laugh, you know. In fact, my first home group right around the corner, Recovery and Beyond, I remember the first time I caught myself laughing, I started crying, because it was so unfamiliar to me. I've had a lot of laughs since then. My clean date is 10/20/96, and I've had a lot of life since then, and it has been different all the time. Not good, not bad. It's just been different. And anyhow, very early on, in the process of learning that I didn't know what the truth was and didn't know how to tell the truth and stuff, I started to finally apply. When I did get that powerlessness and understand that surrender just for a second, I started to apply that to a few different things. And so, to me, what that tells me is I knew all along that these 12 steps will work for everything. You know, I didn't know that I knew that, but and thank God for that. Really, thank God for that, because I've had the opportunity to work the steps on many different issues, and that surrender works in many different ways. And anyhow, so while I've been here, while I was sticking around for a while, I learned, you know, people say stick with the winners, and I was intimidated by the winners. And so I thought, well, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't think I can do that. And then I remember this guy named Butchie. He's not with us anymore, but boy, I tell you what, if you knew Butchie, you knew Butchie. and he would say things like, you know, you don't fit the program into your life, you fit your life into the program. And he often would tell me, you just need to hang out with the women. You just need to hang out with the women. And thank God for Butchie. Learning how to stick with the winners was very intimidating. You know, there are people that I didn't feel I had much in common. You don't ride a Harley. You don't have tattoos. I mean, what do we got to talk about? You know? And, but those are the people that taught me how to do many things: love, how to carry the message, how to sometimes sit still. You don't have to react all the time, Linda. Sometimes you can just sit there and breathe. It's all right. And it's been moments like that that have carried me through my recovery. I have had the opportunity to experience a lot of different things. I've gotten married. I've gotten divorced. I learned that I like attention and caused a lot of chaos and made a lot of amends. I had one of my children come back into my life a few years ago, and it's a long story. A lot of my the children that I gave birth to were either adopted at birth, or were pretty much saved from my addiction by CPS or something like that. What I know today is just because you can give birth or create life doesn't necessarily make you a parent. It takes someone special to be a parent, and it takes a lot of tools, and I did not have those when I had made those choices to have those babies. So anyhow, one of the children that had been taken from me from CPS early on, before I came in, 10 years into this recovery process, came back into my life. And a lot of y'all shared that joy with me. I was walking on cloud nine. It was at a convention down in Tucson, I believe 4 years ago. He came back into my life. His name's James, and James came back into my life, and I learned a lot about him, because first thing that I learned was that that I am capable of being a parent now. I'm capable of being a friend. I'm capable of having boundaries. And the relationship with James was very interesting. He seemed to be, he was 17. He was at a point in his life where he was too old to be a kid and too young to be an adult. And I remember what that's like. And so James and I hung out periodically for 6 months, and then I have to say this, and I know it might be a controversial issue, but for me, there are no outside issues. When I came into recovery, I bring all of me, and every issue I have belongs in this program. And James had mental illness. And what I know today is that mental illness is real. And if by chance you don't have it, just be grateful, because it's real. And so anyhow, James, after 6 months of hanging out and stuff, he chose to take his life. And I believe I had 7.5, 8 years clean, and all bets were off. Everything I had learned in those first 7 years, I lost connection with all those truths that I had learned. And so what happened was NA showed up and took shifts, hung out with me consistently for 3 weeks to help me eat, to help me breathe, to help me sleep, to take me to meetings. I would end up in restaurants telling me to eat. I don't even know how I got there. It was incredible. But NA became the power that helped me walk through that. What I can tell you now, as a result of that experience, is that a lot of things have changed. I have I have a different view of death. I also know that still one of the most challenging things for me is letting go. I don't know if that ever really becomes an absolute where you're all right with that. I also know that I have so many things to be grateful for, you know. I know that the night that I found out that James took his life, my sponsor, it's funny because she doesn't typically drive in the evening, and she ended up at my house, which was like 49 miles, in like 20 minutes, and we're like, wow, how did that happen? And we still haven't figured that out, but don't worry about it. And, you know, sometimes in recovery we hear things that shakes our core. Like, you know, for instance, when you're sponsoring someone, you might have to actually point out what's obvious that you don't really want to point out. And so that night, when I was engulfed in grief and just blown away, she reminded me that, Linda, you're not a victim. And I remember thinking, who in the hell is she? But it was such a hard concept in that moment for me to grasp. When things happen that we have no control over, and they hurt so incredibly bad, I'm not a victim, huh? Well, you know, what happened was, the good news is that, you know, I'm really stubborn. And a lot of times that has carried me through my recovery. It just, you know, sometimes I do what I don't want to do, but I know it's the healthy choice just out of my stubbornness, because I know it will keep me clean. So what happened was I held on to that I'm not a victim, and I chewed on it, and it, you know, I love my sponsor so much, there's no way it could have been a resentment, but it was a tough thing to swallow or chew on. And what happened was it made me look at it often like, I'm not a victim. What does that mean? That means that the day that they invited me back into James's life, I could have said no. I could have not answered the phone. I mean, you know, or you know, I could have, when I found out that he was struggling and stuff, I could have not participated in that struggle, you know, or just, I could have done many different things. And the reason why I was even able to contemplate that is because that first step gives me choice. That's all it really gives me. It gives me choice. And there's a whole lot of power in the ability to make a choice. And as soon as I lose the ability to make a choice, I'm screwed. And so I think we all know what it's like not to make choices, you know, out there ripping and running. And then when we come in here, and after we've been clean a while, I mean, the simple choices, you know, what do you want to eat, you know, but, you know, the ability to make a choice is powerful. There's some people in this world right now that don't get to make a choice, and hopefully they will. Anyhow, through that grieving process, I learned a lot about myself. And I learned a lot about you. Like I said, that sometimes in my recovery recently, it's been the love that you all have for me that has kept me going. I experienced some pretty hardcore depression after that, and you know, it's nothing like laying in bed fully depressed with 10 years clean going, shit, this isn't what recovery's about, you know. But sometimes that is what it's about. And So, once again, I've had to use that, I just call it my stubbornness. I don't know what else to call it. Sometimes it's my attitude, to get up and do what I need to do no matter what to stay clean. And it hasn't been easy. And my sponsor one day said that not for a moment did she ever doubt my recovery during that process. That's pretty cool. That's really pretty cool. I'm extremely grateful for the women that have just loved me and taught me how to find my own voice. It's okay when you're hurting to say, you know what, I just need you to hold me. Sometimes just being held is a heck of a lot better than all the words we could be talking about, staying clean no matter what. Sometimes I have been able to stay clean and recover, do some recovery stuff. Sometimes it's just staying clean and that's all I'm getting, and that's good enough. Thank God that's good enough, I have some little notes here that I made, some little things that came to me that I found to be true. First of all, for me, if I can't find something to be grateful for, I'm in trouble. And I need help. And I need to ask for it. And that's how I stay clean. I think I went through all my notes. That's interesting. Anyhow, let me tell you about something recently. So I'm on MySpace. Now, that's not an endorsement or anything, but it's an addiction, really. No. I'm fond of rocks, not crack rocks or anything, but I'm fond of rocks. I like to rock hunt. I like to climb rocks. I just have this cool relationship with rocks. And anyhow, I met a lot of rock climbers on MySpace. So one day I ended up with this message from this guy, and he had no picture or anything, and heaven knows who it could be if they don't have any profile, And so he was asking me questions like, hey, did you have a son named James in '86? And did you get married in the year of '98? And just these hardcore questions. And I'm like, wait a minute, who are you? And what I found out to be was that guy is what they call a search angel. And there were 2 baby girls that I gave up in '89 and '90 to the East Coast, to the same parents. And the adopted mother was looking for me. And yeah, so anyhow, this summer I'm looking at going and meeting these young ladies, and heaven knows what will come of that, but those are the kind of moments that I've gotten in recovery, and that you all have shared with me. When you all said, don't give up 5 minutes before the miracle happens, y'all weren't bullshitting, were you? I know I'm not supposed to cuss, sorry. Anyhow, and as they say, more will be revealed. I'm extremely grateful. Thank you very much for letting me share.
So you help me introduce our, welcome our second speaker, Ham.
My name's Ham Addict. I got Terry Bradshaw sitting in the front. Wow, Linda, where are you? That was, man. A lot of my story you said, and yep. Well, I've got a couple of few sponsees sitting in the room. I have one of my a great friend, Billy's here, and I also have 5 guys that, including myself, I'm the 5th one. So that would be, I don't know how you'd, anyway, these guys I grew up with. And when I came to Narcotics Anonymous, there was nobody that I seen that was from my neighborhood. And I thought that I was going to have to kind of tough it out, or maybe, and I was thinking, what do they think? Are they thinking something is weird? You know how you do when you first get here, you know, that I thought that maybe they thought that I was getting weak or something, and I was coming to Narcotics Anonymous or something like that. And what happened is that, well, most of them, they were all in the penitentiary, and I hadn't seen them for a while. But I grew up with these guys from the time I was 10 years old. And in my neighborhood, a lot of the guys, you know, they decided to go the way we all went. And Gene and JJ and Bobby and Steve are here, and myself, and I'm very grateful that they're here, and that we're all living, that we're all gotten older, that I don't know. I'm just happy to be here with them, and they're staying at my house, and so anyway, I just wanted to mention that how grateful I am, and Linda said something about being grateful, and I know that if I'm not grateful about certain things or about anything, about living life, the first place I go is I slide to depression. I will slide to depression in a second. I think addicts that really have to be vigilant on looking for things to be grateful for. I think I know with me, I have to look up and I have to look at things and say how grateful I am to be here, how just for you can find anything to be grateful for. And I think the more grateful you are, the closer you are to God. I really do believe that. That's not my line. That was Pepe's line. But I always align myself with thinking along those lines because I was very serious as a heart attack, never laughed. The only times I would laugh at anything would be very sick shit, you know. And there was no happiness in my life. And these guys I hung with, they were the same. You know, it was like, who's got it? Where are we going? When are we going to get it? And when's the next time we're going back to the county jail? That's all we thought about. There was no who's the quarterback or who's playing in the World Series or who the president was. None of us really cared. It meant nothing to us. And so I come to Narcotics Anonymous after 9 years of methadone. That was my drug of choice, and you know, it's like, well, methadone was the thing that kind of kept me away from. And hell, Steve was on for 14 years. Like, Jesus Christ! I think after you was on for 3 or 4 years, you know, you're still going to kick hard. And it took me about a year. I don't even want to ask Steve how long it took him to get off that shit. But I was in CRC. There's a little place in California that part of the Department of Corrections, and I was in there with a guy, and him and I got on methadone together. After 4 years, he got off, and on the 9th year, when I decided to get off, he brought me to the program in Narcotics Anonymous, and In 1981, I did not know whether I wanted to stay clean. It was very difficult. I slipped all the time, and my hand was up, and my sponsor told me, how many newcomer chips have you taken? I said, I don't know, I got a shoebox full of them. He says, give them motherfuckers back. They need them, you don't. You're not staying clean, so you don't need all them chips. So, and so I did. I took my shoebox back. Now they're worth something because they were the old plastic ones. I'm mad I gave them up because that would have been part of my collage. Billy's got a big collage of all kinds of old memorabilia in Narcotics Anonymous. And so, anyway, I didn't, one day he told me, he says, every time you go out, you snub your nose up to the gift that God's trying to give you. He's trying to give you life, and you keep taking death. And I said, what? I mean, it made absolute sense what he said. It's just that he was right. I continually took death over living. Number one, I didn't want to participate in life, but there was a part of me that did. We're so contradictory. Addicts are the most contradictory people I've ever seen in my life, and especially me. And, I want to live, but, who cares? You know what I mean? And I heard him that time. That's when I threw my hat in the ring, and I've been clean ever since. Now, a lot of things have happened since I've been clean, so I've got a lot of no matter whats. Billy says he could have gotten, he got loaded a lot of times. He could have gotten loaded a lot of times, but he didn't. And I feel that way too. And Linda was right. Sometimes it comes down to straight willfulness, where you get so stubborn you just say, I'm not going out. I don't care what happens. And that's the way I got. And yes, some of it I turned over, some of it I became, I went into surrender and surrendered, and everything worked out all right. And there was sometimes I just said, I don't care what happens, I'm not going out. I don't want that kind of life anymore. I don't want to stand in methadone lines any longer. I don't want to, I think there's something better for me. I just don't know how to get it. And Narcotics Anonymous showed me, man, hey, you can get this. You can laugh. I never laughed. You can laugh. You can be part. You can go to these barbecues. You can go out and have dinner with people. And when I first got here, they'd say, come on, Ham, let's all go down and get some pie after the meeting. And I'd say, no, I brought my own car. I won't be going with you. Because I didn't want anything to do with anybody. I didn't trust anybody, and I didn't want, and I was full of fear, I think, and I was full of, I thought, the way I told myself is I don't need any more friends in my life. And, and I had none anyway. The only ones I had were all in the penitentiary, and I didn't know exactly where they were at, so I couldn't write them, and the rest of them were dead, and I just, Bobby was the only one that I would continually go at, and I would call him and talk to him, and he says, just go get some pie. Go on, go get some pie. And I'd say, yeah, I know, and I was telling Bobby and the guys, I said, I know. He said, how come you're always saying you know so much? And I said, well, he said, if you know so fucking much, how come you aren't the president of General Motors or something? And I said, well, he said, I know why you know. You don't want to be left out in the cold, so you act like you know everything. He says, I was there. He says, but don't say that anymore. He says, if you don't know, you don't know. And I said, all right, so these are like little things I'm learning in Narcotics Anonymous about how to be or how to be part of or how to, instead of always trying to separate myself from you, he taught me how to kind of blend in. And so I'd start going to barbecues and this and that. But I'll tell you, man, sometimes I get into my apartment, close the door, and I would like that old, like that drama trip where you're holding the door and you're going, oh my God. Boy, I'm glad I'm away from them motherfuckers, All they want to do is hug me, all they want to do is talk, and they always want to do is love me, and they always wanted to, and I just couldn't take it. I could not take it, you know. And it took me so long to be able to start to, like, man, kind of blend into this thing, you know. And but I was always looking for the dissimilarities. I was always looking for, I wouldn't have been with that. I wouldn't have been with that one. And I had a pecking order. I had all this stuff going on, and it was no good. There was so many things that happened when I was new that, and I felt so distant, and I felt so different, and I felt so that I didn't want to participate, that I felt very bad all the time. And I always wondered why I felt so bad, and Bobby told me, well, you're supposed to feel bad. You just got here. You've been using for 20 fucking some odd years. You've been doing this, and so no matter what, I did not go out. I wouldn't go out. I became very willful about it, you know, and I didn't want any more. I didn't want part of that life, but I didn't know if I wanted part of Narcotics Anonymous life either. I was like stuck in the middle, you know. I was like in this limbo, you know, and it was a trip. Got in a relationship that didn't work out, didn't go out. Got in another one. That one didn't work out, didn't go out. Always had hepatitis C. In 1989, they came up with a test, and they put me on interferon in 1990. Didn't go out. You know, sicker than a dog all the time. Yellow all the time. Stayed on that for about a year. It didn't work. They gave me a biopsy, and they told me that you're going to need a new liver. You don't have any liver left. And so in 95, they told me I had cancer of the liver. And I didn't go out. I wouldn't go out. By this time, man, my willfulness had changed over to surrender. You know, I didn't have to like become like, you know, like hunker down and dig my heels in. It's just that I was starting to get the trip. I was starting to understand what this thing, the dynamics of this program, is incredible. You know, and I started to employ a God in my life. Not that I didn't have him before, it's just I didn't use him all the time. And I started praying all the time. And I started doing the meditation. And I started doing the thing. Started working, well, I always worked the steps. My sponsor told me, you don't write, you're going to use. So I started writing. And finally he told me, no more writing. He said, Jesus. So they're like the fifth inventory he gave me already in the last year. And I said, don't you want another one? I took it very seriously. You know, they said, right. And in those days, people would come up to you and say, you done your inventory yet? Have you done this? Have you done that? You know, and I'd say, well, no. Well, you better do it. You know, and in those days, it was almost like if you hadn't done your inventory, you hadn't earned your seat here. It was all about the inventory. Writing down all those secrets, writing down all the things that you've done, all the things that, how you've conducted yourself in this life. You know, and then finding out about the character defects. Now, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, and my son James, bad news. And these guys know my first wife. She used to take a lot of mini whites. Well, there was no sign saying, you know, that if you drink and if you take drugs and you're pregnant and you smoke, you know, that you have to stand a chance that maybe your kid might come out a little bit different. You know, there was nobody that said anything like that. You know, so all the girls and all the guys, we just got loaded. Every day, nothing stopped us from getting loaded. Well, she particularly liked pills. And so she took a lot of pills when she was pregnant. Jimmy came out a little, he wasn't completely right. And very hyperactive, ADD and all that stuff. And he started taking a lot of dope when he got older. And in 1994, he got busted for robbery, strong-arm robbery. And I told him, man, they got you dead to rights, man. So he made a deal. They sent him to the joint to CMC in California, and he had to take medication. He had to take his medication, and so one day he called me. He said, "I've stopped taking my medication," and I said, "Why are you doing that?" And he says, "I feel great." It's almost like a schizophrenic. They feel so good, they get off the medication. And I said, "Don't do that, Jimmy." And the phone died, because that was all the money he had. 2 days later, he committed suicide, and he hung himself. So, and this was he was 31 years old. He was my oldest son, and I think about him every day. And so I don't know what to say. I just, I was, and people kind of carried me through this thing, just like they did you, Linda. They'd come over and get me. Billy was there with me. My brother was there with me. My wife was there. I had to make the decision to take him off the machine, because his mother couldn't do it. She was like a basket case. And somebody had to step up and say something, so I did. And but I didn't go out. I wouldn't go out. I mean, what honor would I pay him if I went out? I wouldn't pay him any honor to go out and be in a standard station with me. And there's a lot of people in this room, man. They was with me. And a month later, I found I had the cancer. And in 1996, I got my first liver transplant. Not that I wanted to go out, but there was a lot of fear involved about getting transplants and about trying to get through this thing. And I thought that I was going to be okay. And I wrote Bobby, and he was in the joint. I wrote another pal of mine that, and they were praying for me. And and I thought I was going to be fine. It was almost like I was looking. It's not like going down and buying a Winchell's donut or something. It's not like having a broken leg. It's a big deal. And 3 months later, after I got out of the hospital, I went completely upside down. The liver failed. My kidneys failed. Billy came down to the house and got me. I was crazy. I couldn't think. I was trying to box my wife. I was trying to box Billy. He got me to the hospital, and about a month later, I got another liver. But I was extremely sick. I had passed away once, and it was very difficult, because now I thought that I was going to go back to work, and work was a big deal for me. That was a big deal, and I was in the hospital for 4 months. And I couldn't, when I got out, I had to learn how to walk all over again. I was extremely ill. And I thought that it's a good possibility that maybe at one time I was going to be able, I left a great job that I didn't want to leave. I had given up cutting hair. A lot of you have heard my stories about clipping guys' ears off and shit, but, it's not good for business, so I don't like to talk about them, because I might have some potential customers in the crowd. But right off the top, Mexican guy, man, real dark. I cut the top of his ear off, man. The guy turned whiter than I was. I thought, I'm a dead man. This guy's going to kill me right here. And then somebody said, if you had done that to me, I would have killed you. I said, yeah, but you would have had to get past these scissors I had in my hand, because I would have stabbed the shit out of you if you tried to get me. And so then I looked at the guy and I said, no charge for this haircut. Anyway, man, I mean, you know. But I thought I was going to go back to work. Billy was my boss. He had put me to work over there, and I thought I loved the job, and this and that is completely different than I'd ever done. And so I thought I was going to go back, man. I never went back. Now, you talk about acceptance. I haven't worked since. I can't work. I get too tired. My liver's bad again. I'm going to have to get another transplant one of these days. And it's like, sometimes it gets depressing, but I'm very grateful that I'm alive. I'm very grateful that I'm here. I'm grateful that I have my friends in my life. I'm very grateful that there's people in my life. There's people that are in my corner. That means a lot to me, to have people in my corner. And, you know, so, but the acceptance part of never being able to go back to work again. Now, so, there's a lot of people who say, shit, give me the Social Security. I don't want to work. I never want to work. I did. I want to go to work, you know. And, but it ain't going to happen. It's, you know, now I'm getting used to not working, so I'm okay. But, you know, but the deal is that there was a lot of acceptance, so no matter what, I didn't go out on that one. My wife and I broke up about a year and a half ago. I didn't go out. I went on an odyssey. I got in my car, my truck, I got a fifth wheeler and took off for forever. You know, we wound up getting back together, and there was a lot of things that she needed to learn. There was a lot of things I needed to learn. And our marriage is better than ever. You know, I'm saying what I need to say to her, where before I would shut up and I wouldn't say anything, and she's saying what she needs to say to me. This isn't a relationship meeting, but at the same time, it's all part of it. You know, Linda was talking about there's no outside issues here. Addicts have a fucking multitude of maladies that we go through, and the only place we're going to find out how to take care of that stuff is right here in Narcotics Anonymous. By working the 12 steps and having a God in your life and being of service to other people, we don't get into that separation. It's a spiritual principle not to be separated, and it's a spiritual principle of exchange. If we exchange what's happening, if I shut up and I don't tell Gene what's happening with me, all of a sudden who suffers? Me? Yeah, me. And Gene can't help me because I won't let him. You know what I mean? So it's like part of this, what Narcotics Anonymous is all about, the spiritual principle of exchange. The spiritual principle, man, of being there for other people and being there for myself also. I think the greatest thing, I think the greatest thing that I found here in Narcotics Anonymous, I don't talk bad to myself anymore. I used to talk very badly to myself. It was like a Marine DI was in my head. I'm not shitting you. This guy sat up here and he said, straighten up! You know, do this, do that. You know, don't look over there, don't do this, don't have fun, don't do this, you know, the whole thing. And it's like, I was like a mechanical, boom, just like I was so mechanical. I've come to Narcotics Anonymous, I've gotten more human now. I'm not like made out of metal, but I continued to talk bad to myself. And I found, man, that my sponsor told me, he says, every time you talk bad to yourself, he says, the deal is that it's a lie. Everything you're telling yourself is a lie. You're allowing the disease to, you're plugging in that tape B6, or you're listening to this, or you're listening to that, and you're allowing it to happen. And the more it happens, the worse you feel about yourself. And I said, well, yeah, how do you stop that? He says, you got to challenge the lie. I didn't just tell the disease, you know, fuck you, I don't want to hear it no more. I really had to say, that's a lie. Because it says in our 6th step that if we expose our defects to the light of day, to the truth, which is the truth, that we won't, that it has to dissipate. And I find that to be true. You know, and so when I started doing that, it started to go away. Now I will not talk bad to myself. Once in a while it happens. You know, I'm not 100% cured, but I don't do it like I used to do it. I treat myself properly, and I treat other people properly. And I think it's extremely important for me, because when I learned that here, I started feeling better. I felt more part of, you know. I mean, Narcotics Anonymous has given me a brand new life, completely different life, a way to live. And if I leave tomorrow, I've had 26 years of freedom from active addiction. You know? And I just, you know, I got to tell you, man, there ain't nothing better that's ever happened to me in my life. You know. So my other son came and visited me. He lives down in Costa Rica. He's an architect, getting ready to break up with his wife. I got 3 kids. You know, he don't know, but he calls me and he says, "What do you think, Pop?" And we talk, but I don't tell him what to do. But we just talk and lay it out. You know, he came up and visited me, man, and now he's going back pretty soon. But I've got one son, man, you know, and these guys know him, and it's like, I'm very grateful. We just moved back to Arizona. We live over by that big mountain over there, Superstition Mountain. We're having a great time. Got a horse. I went and bought a horse for me. Check that one out. This is a guy from Long Beach that we used to just wear shiny shoes, starched clothes, you know, and everything was like, you know what I mean? And I got me a horse, and I got horse shit on my shoes, and I'm driving, and I'm riding around. Try to ride a horse with Stacey Adams on it, ain't gonna work. So I got me cowboy boots, and I'm enjoying myself. Bobby sent me a horse, a picture of a quarter horse, just 2 legs in the front, and they said it's just a quarter horse. It was a head and a half a body, a quarter. I cracked up. Anyway, man, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm grateful that thanks for giving me a 12-step call. I want to thank the committee for asking me to share, and I want to wish all of you the very best of luck. Thanks.